Those who do evil to others, the killers, the rapists, psychos, sadists, will come to know me well. Frank Castle is dead. Call me
The Punisher. You stand accused of being a generic, by-the-numbers revenge flick that gets too violent, too cliche, and too cheesy. How do you plead?
You are not a nice person.
As God is my witness.
God's gonna sit this one out.
Not guilty. Whenever I hear people try to tell me that The Punisher is a bad movie, I get upset. The fact that Rotten Tomatoes has it scored at 28% makes me upset.
Upset? Is that the word? I used to get upset.
Read my lips. The Punisher is the best live-action version of The Punisher we've ever got, and that includes the Netflix version.
You are one dumb son of a bitch.
Now, hear me out. While Dolph Lundgren looks perfect as the Punisher in 1989, that movie was actually a generic action movie. Plus, Frank didn't even have the skull on his shirt, and I can't tell you how frustrated that made 5-year-old me, who shouldn't have even been watching rated R movies. The Netflix series is okay, and while Jon Bernthal is incredible in the title role, the series takes itself too seriously and tends to drag, not to mention they butchered Jigsaw. Likewise, Punisher Warzone is fun, but it's too silly and doesn't take itself seriously enough. Thomas Jane's Punisher, however, gets it just right.
If you want peace, prepare for war.
Now, The Punisher does have an extended cut that adds about 15 minutes, but for once, I feel like the theatrical version is the version to watch, and the extended cut isn't necessary to appreciate the movie. The entire cast here is so good, with one exception.
Leave him alone.
Thomas Jane finds the right rugged notes as Frank Castle, and John Travolta is always reliable as a villain, but it's the supporting cast that really fill the movie out. Will Patton as Howard Saint's right-hand man Quentin deserves a ton of praise, often upstaging John Travolta and stealing nearly every scene he's in.
Don't do this! Don't do this!
The interrogation scene between Quentin and Spacker Dave remains one of the most tense scenes ever, and it honestly hurts a little to watch it.
You like that? It hurt a little bit.
You've also got comedian John Panette in one of his few film roles, and it's nice to see Rebecca Romijn out of blue makeup for once. Even the guy who killed Jaws cameos as Frank's dad, which in and of itself is pretty badass. The only thing that isn't comic book accurate about this film is that it's set in Tampa, Florida. Apparently in 2004, after X-Men, Spider-Man, and Daredevil, producers felt the New York setting was overused and wanted a fresh locale. Can't blame them for trying, but the rest of the movie is like a talking, breathing Tim Bradstreet work of art. Like the comics, Thomas Jane's Punisher is antisocial, borderline suicidal, drinking away his memories and writing in his war journal when he's not busy killing people in gruesome, over-the-top ways. That's all the action my Punisher needs. Rebecca Romijn literally throws herself at him and Frank ain't having it.
I'm not what you're looking for.
It doesn't get more Punisher than that. Plus, I always respect when films include scenes ripped straight out of the comics, and this one includes one of my favorites taken from Punisher Warzone #1.
Let's talk. You don't help me, I'll kill you now, Mick. Smell that, Mick? I'm burning off some of your fat.
Admittedly, the first act of the movie is its weakest point, be it Frank's phony undercover Russian accent, or watching Frank awkwardly bond with his son.
Yeah. He said we were leaving California.
But once Howard Saint's bat crazy wife lays down the law, it gets wild.
His family. His whole family.
And they don't just kill his wife and his son, they literally kill his whole family. Mom, dad, Aunt Karen, cousins, friends of friends. Not only does this scene explicitly show how brutal the mafia's payback is, but we get a taste of what a tough mother Frank is too. Dude gets shot 3 times, kicked into a pile of canoes, and then takes one point blank right in the chest before being blown off a pier in a gasoline explosion.
You're supposed to be dead.
The Punisher is best viewed as a modern-day spaghetti western, with Frank as the lone gunslinger riding into town to take on the bad guys, and this is clearly done on purpose. The rugged score composed by Carlos Ilioto would fit right at home in a Sergio Leone classic. There are multiple times where Frank squares off in a western-style showdown, even taking down Howard Saint in the film's finale with a classic six-shooter pose, and let's not forget the bounty hunters. Harry Heck is another character straight out of the comics, and he's played by Mark Colley with a truly sinister delight. I mean, he's got a teardrop face tattoo, so you know the guy is trouble.
Do I know you?
I know you. You're that boy in the newspaper. Came back from the dead.
Every scene with would-be assassins attempting to take down Frank remains a highlight of the film, and this one leads to a car chase scene that's over too quickly. But I'm gonna forgive that since it ends with one of the coolest knife fights you're likely ever to see. Hands down, my second favorite appearance in the whole film. So what's my first, you ask?
Call the Russian.
Big Sexy himself, Kevin Nash as the Russian, of course. There's not been a fight against a Russian this well choreographed since Rocky IV. This fight alone makes The Punisher worth watching, and I would put it up against any comic book fight scene ever filmed. It's literally perfect. Hard-hitting action with genuine moments of levity. Wisely, Kevin Nash doesn't even attempt a Russian accent,
Dinge Rosh.
and instead just barrels into the scene like an ass-kicking monster. I could watch this over and over again. Like many comic book films of the early 2000s, Punisher never forgets it's a comic book movie, and as a result, it's just a freaking fun time. There's a little Seether in the soundtrack, some leather trench coats, an overly dramatic Punisher logo on fire, a weapons montage, and even some one-liners thrown in for good measure.
You killed my son. Both of them.
It's the perfect amount of early 2000s camp to let you forget this is actually a homicidal maniac who's murdered dozens of people, though he does give out solid life advice.
Shouldn't play with knives.
While we'll never likely get the Punisher sequel we deserve, which is a real shame since the sequel was reportedly going to be set in New York and introduce Microchip and Jigsaw, you can still enjoy this 10-minute short titled Dirty Laundry that sees Thomas Jane briefly return as Frank Castle. It'll never be enough, but it's something.
Hey, mister. You dropped this.
Keep it. It's got a hole in it anyway.
And the defense rests, so go grab a bottle of Wild Turkey and settle in with the Punisher. Tweet me at Killian or find me on Instagram at CKComedy and tell me how right I am about this movie. If after all this you're still watching, thanks for watching. If you like seeing me defend stuff, click subscribe and turn on notifications. Better yet, check out some of our other videos. If you're still watching this, give the video a thumbs up for support. It would really make me feel good about myself.